All right, so let's get started. So first thing is just that obviously we have this new newsletter that's going to go out on the first Tuesday of the month. February was an exception. It was our first month, so we're working on that. And I'll let Beth correct me or add more to this, but the reason why we started this this monthly newsletter was because, you guys know there's a problem, right? We're trying to get information out there, and by we, I mean conference, district, committees, whatever, we're trying to get information out there, and communication's always the issue. I didn't hear about that. I didn't get enough notice. Why am I getting this? This doesn't matter to me. Or just totally ignoring emails, right? We know that the district newsletters would get a lot more opens than the conference newsletter, and anything from the bishop is even higher in an open rate than any of our other stuff. So trying to harness that power or the value that people see in messages from their district superintendent or the bishop to help them find other information that really is important too, that we need to get in front of them so that they have the resources that they need to be able to connect church to church, to grow the vitality of their ministry, and know where to find church forums or all the administrative stuff. So this is something new that we're trying out. We just changed it again a little bit this week from what we initially published. When we publish it next month, we'll likely tweak it a little more. What we're trying to do is get it as close as possible to this perfect newsletter site that people will like to engage with, that they'll come back to, they'll remember what's there, and go to it as like the first source for whatever they might need. Okay, so that brings us to the newsletter goal. On your sheets, you'll see the very first item, to provide a timely resourcing. Yeah, to provide timely resourcing for the local church with guidance, two-way accountability and conversation, and notices about relevant information using simple and transparent messaging so that churches can be adaptive and connect with other churches in their communities. And then we go into a little bit more detail about that. Don't take this word for word. I really want you guys to understand what the goal, the intent of this is. We're still kind of finessing the actual text there that you see. But I'd like to hear from you guys. What do you think, hearing what I just said, what do you think would make sense for something to be on the newsletter? Or what challenges do you see, like, well, what about this? Sometimes I get these kinds of questions. And Beth, if you want to add anything about the newsletter too, please do.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I received something to go in the district newsletter, which we're not doing, and it's about providing meals for Frontier Wesley for the college students. So is that social media? Can I put that in Mark's Musings, with Mark's Musings? How does that work?
Yeah, so, and that's a moving target too. Number one, I do want to make sure you guys keep in your wheelhouse, your communications to the churches. When they request something, even if it's not something that's totally in line with the newsletter, or maybe it is, always let them know and start doing this, that we can share the local church information, events, whatever, on the district page, and in some instances, even on the conference Facebook page. And I was talking about Facebook, not just district website page side, that we can share their content over social media. If a church asks, like in this instance about the meals, what they're really wanting to do is just get the information to the other churches so that those churches can get it out to their, newsletter list or whatever. It's totally okay to go ahead and send a one-off email with that information. Just forward that information. Yeah.
Okay, so this is my concern with that. That was the nice thing about using the district newsletters for that, because it only came once a week. Whereas this other, one of the complaints is that they get too much information, too many emails from us. And that's going to increase the number of emails they're going to get from us.
Right.
And they're going to get mad and stop reading our emails.
Yes, and that was a complaint that we decided we would only send out district and conference emails. But I would send them a list of the emails so they could just copy it and send it out themselves.
Okay. So, oh wait, you would reply with the list of the church emails?
Yes, for the person
that's a good idea.
requesting, I have an email thing saved on my Outlook, and I just forward that to them with the churches and the emails. They can copy them, put them in,
That is a good idea.
and send it themselves.
Yeah.
And then I explain it. This is the reason why, because if I send too many out, they won't look at your email. And so,
And it puts the onus on them too.
yes.
Instead of,
And they say, great, exclamation, I make, that makes it easy for them.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So I can recommend that. You guys can bring it up with your DSs. The idea of having, maybe I didn't mention that we had a whole team that works on this newsletter, creating it, massaging it, all that. It doesn't mean that it's a top-down thing. You guys know your churches better than we all do, your audience. So if you've got something that works already, share that idea with each other and share it with your DSs to see if that's what they want to do. Although we do try to be, branding across the board so we all look like we're part of the same organization, that doesn't mean that we're cookie cutter. What works in the North District might not work in the West District, and maybe it will. So each district has their own page. They've got their own audience. So, you might duplicate some of the ideas, but others might be unique to your district.
Okay, so it went out Tuesday? Let me see.
Newsletter?
Yeah, I'm just trying to
It's
find
called
it.
News and Resources. It went out Tuesday at 9:05.
Yeah, I got that.
The question is so good discussion about where we are right now is, what does something like camping do in terms of, do they put something on the district website, or do we try to focus that? And then the second question, Dina wasn't sure that everything she'd seen in the newsletter was listed in those bullet points that came out in the communications. Here's what you'll find.
yeah, I had a hard time finding, there was an article from Jennifer about the archives, and I couldn't even find it. I went down a couple times, but I don't know, maybe I just was not very clever.
Because, it was there, and then as we've been changing stuff, we
Okay.
really just get updates recently, so, this week.
Yeah.
So, I think I had more articles under engaging our vision.
Okay,
Now that I've got more feedback on what goes where,
got it.
some stuff had to change.
Okay.
But now I've got a set, concrete way of making sure the stuff goes there and stays there.
Okay.
So,
But still, where would you put your
For the
stuff?
camping.
Yeah.
So, that's in here.
Okay.
We will,
Thank
it's
you.
under discipleship engagement. There's camping ministries there.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Did you have a question, Carla?
So the link that's at the bottom of the email, that's going to change every month. It won't be, it'll be the same link so that they could bookmark that and just, okay.
Yeah, it'll always be dscumc.org/newsletter.
Okay.
Oh,
That's good. That's good to know, to tell people if they bookmark that, then at any time they can go back and.
However, that's going to bring them to the latest newsletter.
Right.
Right.
And then I'm going to have an archives button on here that brings them to like the February newsletter, the March newsletter, and whatever. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about the process. So the first bold sentence that I have there, the week before the first Tuesday of the month, I'm calling that the deadline, but it's really kind of a soft deadline because as long as the stuff is in there, like your district articles are in there, even the day before it publishes, that's fine. That's up to you guys to figure out. But other articles, Like if New and Vital Faith has stuff to share, if Health Ministries has something to share, we really need that request to come in the week before.
Right.
So there's some time to add it to the website, to review, should it be in the newsletter, or is this just website only content?
And where does this request go? To you?
So what I want you guys to do, it says website editors can add content for the newsletter, I should say for the newsletter or website, adding the appropriate category, and then email the article link to Christina for review to include it in the newsletter.
So a week before our meeting.
Do you want to see the district superintendent's ones too?
No. Okay. And then this is still being tweaked too. What content is going to go on the newsletter? But here's what I have so far for the major 3 sections: the discipleship engagement, engaging our vision, and UMC news. Those are just some categories that, if you were posting something about camping ministries, it's probably going to go under discipleship engagement. And there are categories in the posts for each of those items. We can go ahead and do that now. Let me just take a look and see.
We're all kind of wearing smart.
Red. I wore red. It's
Gray, black,
Valentine's
and
Day.
yeah.
Saving my red for tomorrow.
I don't know.
I can't believe you said that.
Carla, I'm with you. I'm kind of got red on.
I can't believe you said that.
Think about things.
Well, we started off with.
So here, I'm already logged into the conference website here, which is where our newsletter lives. And when you're going to create your new post, just go to the top black menu, click on New, and it's going to go to Post. Do not create new pages. If your posts are items like that you would see that are relevant now, but it's not going to be something that you keep for the longevity of the website. It's just right now, here's what you need to know about blah, blah, blah. The blah, 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 the content that lives all the time here that needs a home because this is where we're collecting all those different pieces about this topic, those are pages.
Okay.
So you guys just need to worry about the posts. So you would click on New and then Post. Then you'll get an option of what editor or builder are you going to use. For what you guys need to do, it's easiest and best for you to use the default editor.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's some things that are not available or hard to get to if you use the Divi builder.
Right.
And it also changes the way your article functions on the newsletter page if you use the Divi builder. So use the default editor. If there's ever like some specialty thing that you've got to do, work with me directly. And I am going to do some training videos about how to use the Divi builder, but it's really for something else altogether. Okay, so I use the default editor, and every section of a post is its own little content block. This is a title block, this is a paragraph block, and you see how that little plus sign pops up?
Mm-hmm.
It's also available here. That's how you would add a new, different kind of block. By default, the new blocks that get added when you press the return key is another paragraph block. So this is going to be our example post, and this is all my content, or my whatever. And I'm going to add another block, another one, oops. So I pressed enter before, so it added one in between. If you want to get rid of a block, just click into that block and you can tell that it's active because everything else is grayed out. If I have text here, then that would be black. So if you clicked into it, then click on the 3 dots. That means it's a menu item for more options. And you can click remove block.
Oh, okay.
So I also discovered after a lot of practice that if you want to add a picture, if if you want it to be next to text, you have to enter the picture before the blockers.
Okay.
So, like your content, if you wanted an image, you would have to add it before that.
Right after the single
Yes.
content. So that would be right here, add a block, and then I can select image. And then I can upload an image or grab an image from our media library. Those are images that are already on the website.
And those, all of the things in media images are things we can use for anything, right? And if we upload anything into there, do we need to be aware of where it's coming from? Like, are there...
Yeah, so it's the same as when you guys have done the district newsletters before. And we do have a document about where to find graphics that you can use that are copyright free. I'll share that with you guys again in case you don't have it handy.
I have it sitting in the desk in my office.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to come and copy it.
Yeah, you can't just copy something from one website and paste it in here or save the image, because we could get sued for that, and it's a hefty fine.
When it says insert from URL, does that mean that I could actually link it to another place on our website or to like UMCOM and what they're doing, or?
No, that's different, but you can do that.
Okay.
Insert from URL, it's just grabbing the image from, like,
Like Google image or something,
Yeah,
if that were legal.
yeah, so then you don't have to save it to your computer and then,
Is that legal? That's a good question.
if it's a copyright-free image, sure.
Okay, so we still have to do the check that.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't, because you're using a URL, you can't just put anything in.
That's great, though.
And then linking an image. So I'll just go ahead and do that real quick. So let's just say that we're going to include this image. And if I want to link it to something, let's see, where is that up? Nope. Oh, here it is. Okay, so that's the other thing. So for the whole document, the whole post, I've got menu items under document. If I want to do something with a certain section, then I've got menu items under block. And this is where I should be able to, yay, there it is, link to. So I can select any of those. If it's going to be another page on our website, then just either, if you know the link, just type it in there. If you don't know it, then open up a new browser tab, find the URL, that's the address that's up here. Or I think there's one like Bishop Blog. For Bishop. Anyway, not that I need an actual URL. I just want to show you. So you just want to make sure that the whole thing is highlighted. You do Control-C or Command-C to copy it. And then see what happens if it's an attachment page. Okay, perfect. So that's URLs within our website. You select attachment page. If it's a website that's not part of our website, some other website, then select custom URL.
Cool.
So I can click 3 times, that selects everything in there, and I can press Control-V or Command-V to paste. And undo it. Let's do delete. Oh,
You have to go back, link to, you still got a attachment page.
yeah, that's the one that I wanted. That's how this came up. Delete. Oh. Okay, so let's go custom URL. There we go. So then select custom URL, delete what's in there, and paste it. And then if you're going to a new website, if you're linking to a new website, always open in a new tab. That way people don't lose their source page. We want to keep them on our website as much as possible.
But I also, like if they're opening a form, I always make it into a new tab as well, so they don't lose, because usually they're on a calendar event when I link them to a form, and there may be information that they need to fill the form out.
It's not going to hurt anything. It is helpful to just always select open a new tab. It's just once in a while, it's our old rule was if you're referring to another page within our website, you don't need to do open a new tab because you can always click on the back button. And if you're going to a different website, open a new tab. But it is helpful for people to just be able to click back to the page they were at. So it's okay to always have open a new tab. All right, so now we're going back to the document. Oh, something else to remember about the document. So I'm finishing up my content. There's going to be some new buttons. There's one new button available as a content block, and it's called newsletter or return to newsletter. So if you're adding a newsletter article, make sure that at the bottom you add the return to newsletter button. This is already linked to go back to that newsletter page.
So every article we do, we add that button to it.
If it's an article that's for the newsletter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would not include the DS posts.
You do include the yes, if it's a DS post that's for the newsletter, then yes. If it's just something they're sending out through their own MailChimp or whatever, then no. Okay. And just play with this stuff to see what other things there are. You can add blocks that are not visible here. There's different topics, but there might be something else that you're looking for. So just type a word and it'll search for a block that matches. Okay. All right, so
What do some of those other things mean on the document? Like stick to the front page? I didn't.
oh, we don't use this. So that's for pages that have like their home page, their front page has like a blog segment to it, and it's almost like selecting featured. Yeah, so we've got a category that's called featured, but we could have had our website set up where instead we click on stick to the front page, but we don't need that. All right, so
Pending review, do we click that until you say if you give us the thumbs up? Or?
no, it's okay to go ahead and publish things. I'm going to be editing where it lives, or just the categories where it's going to show up before each newsletter goes out. Right, so just make sure that you change the author to whoever it is that wrote it. I mean, if it's a committee person, we're not going to have them, but we would have, you know, let's say North District, or, you know, we can have new, I think we can remove you. Yeah. Looks like I'll need to create some new authors, like for New and Vital Faith or things like that. I'll have that ready. And then you can publish, instead of publishing immediately, you could have something ready to go now to be published a year from now or a month from now. So like event reminders, you know, you could get those all done on one day and be done with it by, you know, spreading out when you're going to publish stuff.
When you say event reminders, that is like we're going to the April newsletter. Is that what you mean? The event reminder, or where is that going to post?
Yeah, it could. So, like, let's say it's for summer camp.
Mm-hmm.
We're in February, so maybe there's an article now saying that registration is open.
Yeah.
So you publish that now, and then after that, you do another one asking for volunteers to sign up, and you schedule that one for March 1st.
But what I'm asking, where is that going to publish? Just on the web page?
So it'll still live, and it'll just go under like the news right now. That's where things typically show up.
Okay.
Is TSC News. Anything that comes up goes there.
Okay.
But then it'll also pop up in the month, in that month's newsletter.
Okay, got it.
And do you want us to select that publish date instead of publishing immediately? Do you want us to select the date for the first Tuesday of the month?
Oh, no, yeah. If it's meant for the first newsletter, it's okay to publish it up to that week before the first Tuesday of the month.
Okay.
Any of those days, that's fine. Go ahead and put it in there. If it's not meant for the newsletter, then you can publish whenever you want to. What else? Oh yeah, so then the other way that the categories, that's what tells the website where to show this post. By default, I think maybe it's like communications blog is selected. You don't need to keep that one selected. You can change that if it does come up. But make sure that you're always looking at the categories anytime you post something, because let's say that was a camping thing that is going to happen during annual conference. So it's a camping article, but it has to do with annual conference, so I should select annual conference and then select camps and retreat. Right now I don't think maybe we have a page, I don't remember, for camps and retreats, but the nice thing about adding, and maybe it was about ordination too, so I would maybe select boom, or whatever it is. And then it's also for the newsletter, so I'm going to select, it was the discipleship engagement. Discipleship-newsletter.
So that's what will make it go on the newsletter, is by selecting
Yes.
discipleship or engage,
Yeah, the ones that,
or what's the title for the WJUMC news one?
that one is UMC News. Okay. Let's do engaging our vision. I think that was Vision Newsletter. Yeah, Vision Newsletter is the engaging our vision.
And then, so then I'm wondering, because this is where I messed up all of your newsletters.
Mess them up.
Well, we had a great learning experience. If for some reason I was working on something that I was like, wow, this would, like Dina with camping, wow, this would be something really useful maybe to go on the district website or in the district whatever. What would the protocol be for kind of like asking you guys and seeing with you if that was okay?
So I'm going to go ahead and speak for them, because this is something we had already been doing with the district newsletters.
Mm-hmm.
If you are posting something that you feel should go in a different area that you're not the owner of, email that person and say, hey, I've got this article. I'd like to add it to your district news category, to your camping category. Is that okay? And more often than not, at least the way we used to do things, it would be okay. It was just a matter of the date it was published. And, that'll work, but I need this to be on top, so could you make sure that it's dated before this date? Because the way the blogs work, the newest stuff is on top.
Okay. And so, which also brings me back to the, so like with the, I can't think of something far out there, the 5-day academy, let's say I wanted to get a blast out in the districts, where would I put that?
So, okay, so that's a conversation I think for the team, because right now, officially we're doing the one newsletter. And if it's something for, what was it, 5-day academy? That to me is discipleship. So it should go under discipleship engagement, part of the newsletter. But if you also wanted it to go out through the districts, so this is where the additional conversation needs to happen, is it's sounding like to me, but I'm not 100% sure about this, that the districts might still do their own newsletter. I don't think everybody's going to do a weekly newsletter except for Mark with his musings, and I think he might occasionally include other stuff in there, event reminders. So that, to me, and this is something that I'm going to recommend to the team, is, and it has to do with the categories. So for the 5-day academy, for example, or camping, it doesn't matter. We've got the notice about the event, registration's now open, and then maybe it's a, don't forget to register, you have 2 weeks left. So as far as the categories go, you should only select the camps and retreat once when we have that page, or whatever else it was. The first one saying, here's what it is and where you're going to find all the information. Any reminders and stuff, it's just going to clutter up that page, because maybe the last 4 things are all about the same thing.
I did
so, so just do it the first time that has all your information on it, and that first one should link to that event, like the calendar, because the calendar is where you're going to add all the information. And so any of your updates or reminders should link to that calendar page to find out more or to see other news about it, or, whatever, like to that event.
Another question, so how many times can you share the information? You're saying we're only going to share it once and then we have to connect it back to the calendar?
No.
Yeah, I don't quite understand that either.
So, what I'm saying is, let's include it in you could always try to include it in the monthly newsletter, because it's just going to be the once a month thing. So maybe like 3 times. There's the initial one when you first scheduled it, and hopefully it's, maybe 6 months in advance at least, so churches have enough time to tell their people. If you're including an invitation to register the month before it happens, I mean, realistically, you're not giving your churches very much time to share anything. They didn't have any time to plan. They don't really have time to put it in their newsletter. So it's kind of a waste of space and clutter for the newsletter to have something in there just before your event is happening. So as far advanced as you can would be best. Those last minute notifications, that's where I'm saying we could do it differently if the districts are sending information out weekly or bi-weekly. I think Susan might send stuff out every other week.
She's looking at once a month. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, she's looking at, that's what I was told. She's
Yeah.
gonna do and Nancy's probably the same, still thinking. They're thinking of going on the 3rd Tuesday of the month.
So then, so that makes sense.
It's another also possibility. Maybe I wonder if that could be something that goes from that department head or committee to the churches about this event is happening. Do you have everything you need?
So, just for going where you're going, when I have an event and I have my registration and stuff all ready to go for it, I tend to sit down at my calendar and I put down when I want reminders and stuff to come. And when I do my first initial one, because so much of the information in the first one you're going to cut and paste to get your use for your reminders, I tend to make the first one right away and then immediately do all the other publications.
Okay.
So that they're all ready to go.
Yeah.
What I
That's a really good question.
still don't understand is, you said you don't want on the webpage a list of the same thing.
Right,
How do
that's
you, I don't think we
I'm
finished
still on that.
explaining.
Okay, so if it was about summer camp,
Right.
the first post about summer camp, I would select the camps and retreat category in addition to the discipleship newsletter, to anything else that if it was something about the volunteers was included, then maybe I would include the training category. That makes sure that it's included in all these spaces. After that, when you just have reminders about it, don't forget to register, your deadline is approaching. The only category that I would select at that point is the discipleship newsletter one, not the camping category, because that's where it's going to get cluttered.
Because it's already on there once.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
The discipleship newsletter is just going to have that most recent post that you had about it.
Okay, so reminders go in whatever category. You do one big blast and try to get out as much information as possible, right, on that first one. And then when we want a reminder, we just pick one of these.
Only the newsletter one, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So if Dan, we haven't discussed it yet, but if Dan wants an additional newsletter, then I would hit the North District and MailChimp. That's the only 2.
So,
You see what I'm saying?
yeah. Here's the thing about the North District, or any of the district MailChimps. Those are set up as automated newsletters.
Oh.
So it still could be that way, but we need to have that decision up front that you are going to activate your MailChimp newsletters again so that they do automatically go out on your designated day of the week and hour if there's new content with that category.
I have to have some conversations about that because you had talked to her and she and I had talked a lot about, we kind of would like to have if we're only going to have if the newsletter is going to be almost entirely a DS article, I would like to have the whole thing in it. As long as the whole article in it. So I need to do some thinking and research about how I want to do that. So, because I know you're not doing automated yet.
No,
Right now.
you had me set up. Well, you looked at it. It just marks musings where we put the whole thing in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could always do that and then add links to the articles, just adding one text box with bullet points if you want that are linked to those articles. That's up to your.
It'd probably be good to have at the bottom of whatever we do a link to the newsletter, to the previous conference newsletter, so that they could always go back and look if you want more information about what's going on in the Desert Southwest Conference, maybe.
Yep. Okay. So, yeah. For the districts, when you're posting stuff, just make sure that you've got, let's see here. Here's newsletter-district, and it does mention that in that procedures part of the document, so that if this article has the Newsletter East category selected, that means it's going to show up on the newsletter under Susan's colored block.
And we only want one.
And only one can show up. So you don't have to worry about taking off that category.
Oh, okay.
It'll only show the most recent one.
So like things that I do, I would click into the connectional corner, newsletter connectional corner, or?
Yeah, so I need to create a category for that because we don't have the page for it yet. But so I'll create a category and then you would add connection corner in addition to any other items that it relates to.
And so like, or if I were doing something under engaging the vision or discipleship engagement, I would click on one of those instead, or maybe as well.
Yeah, either one.
Okay.
But I was thinking about the automated, you can change that. You can go and change the date when you're putting it together. You can say what date you want it to go out.
Yeah.
Each time. If you,
yes. Yeah. Totally can do that. I'm just saying it's not going to automatically go out right now because we all have them paused.
Right.
So just know that if you want to use that category for it to make your pretty newsletter without you having to do anything, go into MailChimp, turn it on for whatever you want to do.
And will it change it? Like I was thinking I would change it to go, because I think you can, I think I can change it to the third thing of the month. I haven't looked at it close enough.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, you can do it once a month and then what day of the month or whatever. Something else. Oh, yes, and so districts, just remember, so you've got the MailChimp one if you want it to go in your automated. You've got the newsletter one if you want it to be on the newsletter page, and you have your just district if it needs to show up on your district web page.
Did I do that for my articles?
And see, that's what I'm wondering about things from like camping or New Faith or Connectional Ministries. If we had something like the Gathering or the Western Jurisdiction Disaster Academy, could we put something on the district website, or is that redundant and not appropriate?
I mean, the district website, to me, I think that's district-specific content, and some of it might be, cross-conference, but it's probably like the trainings that are, like, let's say the Holy Huddles. It's happening across conference, but you should only really see the Holy Huddles that are happening in that specific district.
Okay, that makes sense.
The only thing, some pastors, because of their schedule, they go to a different district. So if there is at least a link, if not the whole schedule, a link to the other districts.
Yeah, so you could do that in your own district's post with here's the locations and dates for this district. Click here to see the location and dates for East District, or click here for West District, or for whatever. You can do that. I still think, back to Beth's concern, if you want to include something that's outside of your ownership, give that admin or district superintendent or whoever it is, camping, just give them the ask, send them the request. Is it okay if I add this category? Or,
because we can always go in, if somebody puts something on and we're gonna send out a news, we can always adjust the date to make sure, as long as we know it's there.
Yeah, because we're usually looking for content,
Yeah.
so that would be helpful.
Well, and then I'm also wondering in terms of training, so like just like we want to teach people that we have constant updates happening on our web pages for the district so that people know that's the easy access point for what's going on where you are. How do we start teaching people how to use the conference site and know how to navigate it? Like what do we say to people to kind of encourage them to do that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so so let's go ahead. I mean, there's a few more details in here, like about the process. Like the fourth item is about the district superintendent articles.
Yeah.
So pay attention to that because excerpts are key. We need to be very intentional now about including an excerpt and make sure that if it's a district post, that the DS has said, this is what I want as the excerpt. If they have not told you, send them what you recommend and then ask them, is this what you want for the excerpt? Because that's what's going to show up on the newsletter page. That you were moving on to.
Well, no, before you do that, can you review for me how I create an excerpt because I don't know how.
So we've got everything on there, and then under the documents part of the menu items, here's where you can select your excerpt. Or add it. If you don't put anything in there, then it's just going to pick up the first pieces of text. And let's see here. In this case, I have the word content, and then it's an image, so it's going to include the file URL. What you'll see is content, and then maybe something like href equals blah blah blah.
So it won't show you the picture; it's going to show you the site.
Yeah. The way you could show a picture is if you include set featured image, but our newsletter page is set up where you don't. It's not going to show up the featured image, but on other pages it will.
So you would want to be really intentional about changing the excerpt to actually say the first sentence or to if you had an image right away. Like you would want to make sure that you're not capturing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So try to never leave this blank.
So is our feature image size still the same?
Yes.
Okay.
869 pixels wide by 315 pixels tall.
It was 377. It's 315.
369 wide. No, 869 wide by 315 tall.
Oh,
I thought we had a little wiggle room on the 315.
I thought it was a range.
So at this point, you could have some wiggle room in there. In the past, the reason why I wanted you guys to be really set on that is because at some point we had it where the images showed up in a block somewhere. I can't remember where it was. And so if one district posts their image really tall, then it shows up that way, and then the next one's shorter. It's a kind of throws things off a little. Let's see. Back to Beth's thing. You said something.
Wasn't useful because
No,
I
it
can't
was.
remember what it was.
It was really important.
How do we help? How do we start teaching people how to engage with the conference website?
Okay, so let me go to. So just like your articles, we'll need to include the button at the bottom, and I'm going to redo that so Julie can see. So this piece here, I'll just add a new one here. To add that return to newsletter block, I pressed on the button, the plus sign, or you could do it here too. And then I type newsletter, and then there's the return to newsletter button. All you gotta do.
So when will I be needing to use that?
Anytime that you have, if you're posting something that's supposed to be on the newsletter, like the bishop's featured article,
Okay.
at the end of it, after you've done his signature or whatever it is that's part of his article, you'll add this newsletter, return to newsletter button.
So, and that, I need clarity on if I'm posting in MailChimp and then also then on the this part of the newsletter also? Is that correct?
Yeah, I think
So I
that,
do it in two places then?
yes.
Okay.
That's my understanding, but you might want to just verify with the bishop. My understanding was there was no changes to the bishop's, the way you normally send stuff out of the bishop's stuff. Like in this case, he wants an email to go out, but sometimes it's MailChimp. So this additional thing is about if he wants this letter to go out in the monthly newsletter.
So under the process, I have a question about number 1. So are the DSs not doing the feature article anymore? Is it always going to be the bishop?
Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, so that part changed.
Okay.
Now we have just the bishop's article is basically the featured article. He's always going to write something monthly, and then the DSs are going to write something monthly for the newsletter as well. Okay, so what I want to show you is the United Methodist Women's page. The reason why I'm showing you this is because what's coming down the road is a change to the district website pages. So part of and this is just one thing that's happening. The different areas like the new Connectional Corner page, the New and Vital Faith page, maybe a discipleship page, maybe, whatever, health ministries page. We're going to have buttons on the side or underneath somewhere where it's visible, maybe at the header, I don't know, that will go to, instead of Census 2018, it'll be conference newsletter.
Calendar.
District calendar. Yeah, things that will always be there. So hopefully that will help people learn how to navigate through our website. We could do a bigger button for the search. And so if you are posting, that reminds me about the event reminders. So let's say you're posting an article about summer camp. And this isn't the initial article, it's a reminder article. So just like you would link to the event page where you can find all the information, I'm going to create buttons just like these that you can add just underneath so that you have a return to newsletter and a button, find out more about camping, or go to camping website. So there'll be things like that. And if, that's going to happen for any of the pages, let me go to, where we have, for any of the places where we have living content, if that makes sense now, a curation of area-specific content. So when we have a New and Vital Faith page, let's say there's an article about Rob Reinders has this new book that has all the answers to how to make a church the most important place in the world. So there's an article about that, and it was in the newsletter, so it's going to have a button to go back to the newsletter, and then you're going to have a button to find out more about New and Vital Faith resources, or what else is going on for discipleship, or whatever the categories are that it makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
So, all right.
So can you go back to the United Methodist Women's page? So you're saying that we'll have something similar to this, like a feature picture, and then we'll have all these buttons somewhere.
Yeah, it might not look exactly like this. It might not have a slider, but the big deal here is that this stuff is available through their menu items or searching, but this is the more frequented, or what's important right now, or things that people always want to try to find.
I think that would be helpful, because then you don't have to go to another page or worry about the.
And they'll pretty much be the same on all, those things will be the same on all the district pages, except there might be some district specific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm imagining.
Is that what, are we supposed to edit them as we see things like?
You definitely can.
So like when we come up to our leadership trainings, we could put prominently in the front a button for that.
Yep.
Okay.
And so then I remember, or camping, or whoever is cultivating our own page, that content I'm putting on that page can get linked to from whatever that, like a connectional corner box on the district sites or whatever, or.
Yeah, it could, but that's a discussion with the district superintendent.
Okay.
Some of them might be okay with it, and some of them, maybe have enough stuff that, no, that's too much.
Okay. All right, so then, but what then it makes me wonder is whenever I'm curating a page, I want to make sure I'm thinking that people are accessing it from all these multiple different points, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So keeping those different audiences in mind.
Yes.
Okay.
This part here of the newsletter is still to be changed or updated. What it's going to be is basically, instead of just saying ministry resources, it'll be a title of maybe new and vital faith. One, maybe it's camping, maybe administration. It's the major department areas, right? And then the items that fall underneath that if they have content that churches need to access. So if it's outreach ministries, we maybe wouldn't have anything here for what is children in poverty, I think is.
Yeah, under outreach.
Because right now they don't have anything that the local church needs.
Right.
So we're not going to have a page that just lists who's on that committee.
Sure.
Yeah.
So like the button that says Lay Servant Ministries,
Yes.
third column top.
Mhm.
So yeah, that goes to where all the trainings are.
Yeah, it goes, yes. And,
Okay. And all of us, well, not all of us, no. The district AAs cultivate that, right? You guys add
This
those training
page?
sessions into.
Well, we put stuff up. Cynthia and I do. She doesn't put them on because she doesn't have on. North District doesn't have online registration for Lay Servant Ministries.
but it still would be good to have that information
Have the
and
dates.
maybe,
Put the
I
dates
put
on.
the
Email
dates
when or
on the, well, previously I put the dates on the event.
On the calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but now that we have this one page, North District people might want to find out
okay,
about their area.
yeah.
Well, for example, this weekend there's the one at I don't know. There's one coming up
The
in
16th,
West District.
15th
Not
of March.
Yeah, the 15th of March. Yeah, it's not this weekend. It's next month.
There it is. 16th of March, yeah.
It's like, I got something else going on this weekend. And I got an email from somebody in the South District, or a phone call from somebody in the South District who just needs that one last class. And
That's
so,
it.
yeah, so by having them all put together, they get to kind of go around to different districts.
And again, part of that is just teaching people that the content they need is here. They just need to learn how to access it. And so the more broadly we can teach people, this is a reliable resource to find out what you need, and actually make sure that the content we need is there for that, the better interaction people are going to have with our website. And hopefully, fewer people will say, why can't I ever find what I'm looking for?
Yeah.
I'll feel happy.
I received yesterday a woman from Desert Spring. They're having a celebration in United Methodist Women on the 150th anniversary. So they're celebrating the greater United Methodist Women, but it's a local church. And I wasn't sure where to put that, and she wanted it to go in the newsletter. And so I told her our spell, but I would check with Dan because he gives special permission, and he sent me an email to see if it could be posted on the United Methodist Women's because they are celebrating the greater church, but it's within a local church. They've already sent emails to all the churches in our area that they're having. So would that be something that could go on the United Methodist Women's webpage, that they're celebrating the 150th anniversary, their event at their church?
Don't go to the United Methodist Women page right now. Bev crashed it.
Oh, no.
I have to, she crashed it yesterday, actually. I have to fix
not
it.
you. Yeah, with a V. Not bad for the TA.
Something happened. I have to go fix it. So I don't know. I haven't even looked at
So
it yet.
that would be a question for Beth, the secrets, right? That's awesome.
Oh,
To see
okay.
if we can include that there. She's got her own MailChimp too.
Okay.
So let's say it was something else, a local church celebrating 150 years of camping ministries. Because I want to think about that. Would it make sense to add that to the website or to include it in the newsletter? So what do you guys think? It's just a notice about we're celebrating 150 years in camping ministries of the Desert Southwest Conference at Scottsdale United Methodist Church next month.
Yeah, I was inclined just to send her the email so she could send it out, but she had already done that.
Yeah.
And she was just trying to get a wider
But then maybe
exposure.
maybe something like that goes into the connection corner to illustrate, like, look how exciting it is that we are this, connectional, and that's something that goes on our
That's true.
page in a little place. And if you want more information about participating, email this person. We could do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I think that the camp would affect everyone. I mean, a lot of people, because people who have gone to these camps probably live all over the district now. They might have lived concentrated here in Phoenix, but maybe they live in Las Vegas now.
Mm-hmm.
So she's right. I was thinking of that connection.
So would the United Methodist Women of 150?
Yeah, probably so. I don't know.
So here's what you've got to imagine. We have to keep thinking about our audience. What are they going to do with that information?
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to get that and put yourself in the total opposite side of the district, if you get that email about a church that, for Glenn, you get an email about the UMW 150th celebration happening at Scottsdale UMC. But if you were a United Methodist woman,
That's true.
But what would you do with that information?
Well, you could send them a note. Someone, the president, you could send a note. Maybe by knowing it, you could say, well, I can't go, but I can send a note about it.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't know it otherwise anyway.
So imagining yourself in the shoes of a person that it would be important to, but maybe you can or can't travel to get to that place. Sending them a note. So include that in the bottom of the article as an editor's note, or tell the person that's requesting it, yeah, I could go ahead, I could try to share that, but you need to include some content for the people that can't make it there. Why do they want to get this information? So include an invitation to send a note, or a story about your history with United Methodist Women, or if you want to send
A donation.
a donation, or if you want to be able to share that you too are celebrating at your local, whatever it is, include something so it's relevant to that reader, that there's no way I can make it there, but I'm a United Methodist woman too. I'd like to somehow be a part of that celebration. Maybe it's even just a message of share something on your own Facebook or social media about your experience in United Methodist Women. Okay. All right. Okay, so I had a question about job openings. How do we advertise those now with this change? So as far as this monthly newsletter goes, job openings are not going to be highlighted in here because it's not something that engages people with the vision. Okay, it's more of an administrative thing. So down here, which is part of the newsletter page, we do have classifieds.
Mm-hmm.
So if you click on that, you see all of the job listings. It's not highlighting up front that there are 50 new jobs available. So what we can do is share that job post on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook has, for pages, you can post jobs available. So I intend to have that updated as we post jobs on the website.
So it was from my district, so we'll just talk about the complaint. My problem with that, I mean, while I understand everything that person said, I don't know about you guys, but I get something to add to the classifieds at least 1 or 2 a week. And that's not the business of the church or the district.
Mm-hmm.
And so I, and to put out, so I'm going to do I'm not going to use the names of the people that did it. So, like, if I have somebody in Yuma who has a job opening, I don't want to be sending it out. I don't want to use up my newsletter space because that's such a small area of the district. I mean, I think it's great to have them available and people can go to the class, and we've always had the link at the bottom of the page. But I just, I could have 3 or 4 in an issue.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not the right thing for the newsletter.
Yeah, so
Am I wrong? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
no, I totally agree, which is why we're not going to have individual posts about them. People can just find them by going to classifieds.
Right.
But we can share them on social media. Yeah, so that's the intention. And if it's for a job in the East District, you could even ask them to share it to the East District Facebook page, linking to their church website where the job posting is, or add it to the website and send them the link and ask them to share it to the district Facebook page.
And how long are we keeping these on this page?
They only stay there. Our official whatever is, it stays up to 30 days unless the church says that, hey, we still have that job opening. Or if the church says before the 30 days are up, we already filled that job opening. So
Some of them have deadlines, and when they have a deadline for applications, I take it off.
that's fine, yeah. It's just as long as jobs aren't there forever and ever and they've already been filled, and we want to stay on top of it. So make sure that when somebody asks you to post something on the website, remind them of the deadlines and ask them to let me know when it's been filled so I can remove it. Or if you need it to stay up beyond the 30 days, send me another email so I don't remove it.
So we just delete it?
Yep.
Okay, because that's what I did.
So, are there questions, concerns? Does this seem like a big change from what we were doing?
It doesn't seem like a big change, but it's a change. So it just takes time to wrap your mind around it.
Yeah.
So it's just the little nuances, and even the latest form of the newsletter is relatively new.
Mm-hmm.
So just connecting with all of that.
Yeah.
It will take practice.
So one little shortcut that I'm going to show you, after you posted your article, so we had that example post that I added a little while ago, and right now it's only set to go out in the conference MailChimp. I don't have to click on edit to add all the other stuff. I can click on quick edit, because maybe I'm on the call with Gwen to find out, was it okay that I include this in the North District newsletter? Can I put it on that page too? I can add all my categories here and click update or remove categories. That's under the quick edit, and you just click update and it saves it. See, but at a glance you can see where things are going to go. This one is going to be on the newsletter page under Nancy's colored block, and it's going to show up on the West District webpage.
So it's newsletter West and West. Okay, that helps. Just seeing that.
Yeah, and then if she wanted it to be a part of her monthly or weekly email blast from the district, the MailChimp thing, you would also have the West-MailChimp.
Okay.
Anything sense?
So this was super helpful for me, even so now I've been a part of like 2 levels of this conversation. Can we maybe check back in with each other and see how this is going? In May, I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but
Yeah. Do you guys want to do that?
No,
is that it might not be useful, you know,
no, I think it'd be good to go over it.
So if we've started to create some bad habits,
we can
in we can get them corrected. Because, sometimes when you're doing things, you find the easiest to make it show up, but it may cause other problems, like a list of announcements on one page for the same thing.
So, yes, and I know, sorry everybody, I had a speaking engagement this one. Where does justice, I'm looking at the process, where does justice fit in?
Where do you think it would fit in? Would it be a discipleship engagement, engaging the vision, or UMC?
No, one of the first two.
So these categories, the stuff that goes in there, it's really basically up to the team, the dream team, to decide, where things fit. We were talking about how, let's say there's something right now for gun violence awareness. And so we don't officially have it listed somewhere. You can go ahead and post it on the website. We might have a gun violence category. So you go through the categories, make sure it's selected in all the categories that it makes sense. If it was a training about how to build gun violence awareness in your community, so you'd also select training. And then if you wanted it to be a part of the newsletter, you can, so we were saying add it all that you need and then send me the link so that I can either make sure that it does fit in one of these categories for the newsletter or share it with our dream team. If it's something I'm not totally sure about.
Yeah, that's what I need clarification on. So when does it go to the dream team?
If it's not very clear that that's definitely annual conference or whatever, something that's already in writing that's shared with the dream team, then I would go ahead and share it with the dream team to make sure this is what I'm thinking. Does that make sense? And then I'd add that information.
Well, I would like a bullet point that puts justice somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, so all that stuff, as things come up, like we were saying, like new and vital faiths, none of that stuff is in there either.
Right.
So it would be, as stuff comes up, bringing it to the team, unless it's pretty obvious. I mean, some stuff, if it was something from new and vital faith that has to do with creating new disciples, I'd just go ahead and add it there, and then after the fact, let the team know, hey, I'm adding this under discipleship engagement.
And what's the process, if something needs to be brought before the dream team, what's the process and what's the timeline for an answer?
Well, the deadline for things for the website, for the newsletter is the week before the first Tuesday of the month. So ideally, that stuff would have been posted, and that week before, I've been notified, hopefully at the beginning of the week, so we have a greater chance of making sure we fit it within the deadline range. So you can even send it to me and copy the dream team, because everybody that's in there. Well, no, I'm asking everybody to send it to me so that I can decide. Yeah, send it to me, and then I'll share it with the dream team for a discussion.
Via email?
Yeah.
But we're not approving content for the dream team, correct? We're
Sort of. We're not content specific to every single article that's going to be in there, but we do need to we're still not totally defined on these categories that fit in the newsletter. Because like the gun violence awareness, the major goal, part of it is to get people more involved in the vision and creating new disciples. So if the gun violence awareness piece doesn't have anything about that, then it probably wouldn't fit into the newsletter. But that's not necessarily, it really isn't my call. That would be the team's discussion.
Okay, so where do justice think? Because I could see somebody making an argument that nothing for justice addresses the vision and I'm just saying on an example, if something like that happened, where does that go then?
So then that's where we still have the possibility, and one or two areas already have their newsletters set up. Stuff is still going to go out through social media. Now it has to be intentional, like I can't just let it go. So social media stuff's still going to happen. We can still have, let's say, a gun violence awareness newsletter, so that the people that are
interested. So the boxes that are underneath, they can post in there.
Yeah. So and the gun violence awareness is going to have their own page of all the blogs and stuff.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I also think part of this is like all of us have to kind of all of us have to strategically think about how everything is feeding into making disciples for Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. And I know that you don't need to hear that, but what does it look like for us to really encourage the people who are creating content for our posts to think, okay, no, but I've got to clearly state how this helps grow my church, engage disciples, and be courageous.
Yeah, and acting for justice is a part of our.
Of course, it's a part of our strategic direction.
Yeah.
But you know, but I mean, for instance, I mean, a good example is March for Our Lives. They're having a huge rally today. Mm-hmm. And what if I had just found out about that this morning? I mean, I didn't, and we publicized it, but, you know, just saying. Or if something catastrophic happens. Here's the dialogue in my head behind all of this is, as president of the Arizona Faith Network, you know, we have a process as well. And I do not welcome cumbersome processes for public statements that have to do with justice. You know, if for example, if right at this second, say, you know, today's the anniversary of the Parkland shooting, say we have another Parkland today, I want to issue a statement today. Mm-hmm. And right now, I have to go through umpteen people to get their approval on the content of that statement, which I think is just absolutely ludicrous. Anyway, it will change under my presidency. So, you know, there has to be some level of trust, but also what I loved about that sheet that just went away that was right there, the fact that there's like guiding factors, those bullet points, guiding factors, that's perfect. And that's why I'm saying I want justice in there, just because I can say it, but it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in this context, you would already be able to post stuff, you know, if you needed to make a statement about something that happened, you'd already be able to post it on the website and it would show up there. Mm-hmm. If there's already a newsletter for that area, it would go out automatically that way.
And to distinguish between the newsletter and the website.
So yeah, I don't mean the monthly newsletter. I mean that gun violence awareness newsletter. Right. It could go out through social media. I would say if it's really a statement that needs to go out, then we should be considering an actual press release to go out to that wider audience. For the monthly newsletter, that's, you know, it's once a month. So as of right now, I don't think that we would deviate from that once a month just because there's timely content. We'd have to look at our other areas. Right. We did talk about other venues where we push out information that the districts are going to be, some of them are having their own newsletters sort of anyway, not like what they had before, but something that they're sending out still. And another thing that potentially all of our districts are going to do, like what Gwen already does, is create an email list for their area churches, and some stuff with their district superintendent's approval. Let's say it's something from Arizona Faith Network or the Gun Violence Awareness Committee, because something's going to happen in the South District. That you really want to make sure that you get a lot of people showing up for this. There's a prayer vigil tonight, you know, whatever. So then you would send that to Cynthia, and then Cynthia could respond if it makes sense for their area. She would respond with, you can go ahead and send to all of our South District churches. Here's the email list for that. You know, it could be, because that's what Gwen does when a local church asks, you know, we talked about the 150th anniversary for UMW, that they want their area to know, then Gwen will respond with, oh, here's the email list for the churches in our area. You can go ahead and send directly. Then we're not cluttering with more emails from the North District or from the conference. Cool. It's a whole different voice, but to the audience that you want it.
Mm-hmm. How much authority do you guys have? Or do you have to run everything by your DS?
I have to run everything by my DS.
Yeah.
It depends. What the level of content is. I mean,
it's good. Yeah, good to know.
If it's something in the local church, I mean, they have a directory. I just make it easy. Right. And the person the last person who contacted me had already done that. So they don't need to get emails from me. I just make it easier. Right. So it's not something that's a secret.
Right.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Good. That was good. My teams are thrilled, by the way. The teams that I've met with, they've looked and they're thrilled.